Welcome to this week's The Positive Habit. I hope you're well. I am reviewing two books for May's book reviews. The first is Fish Mind by Pat Dibley, and this is my book of choice for non-fiction. So for those of you who know Pat Dibley's work, you will know just how open and vulnerable Pat is in how he shares about his own feelings, his own fears. And I think, to be honest with you, that is what so many of us really love about Pat's work and what makes him so relatable and so accessible for many, many people. This book came out just, I think, last year, and basically what it does and what I love about it, there's two things I love about it. The first is how practical it is. So it's kind of close to my own books in the sense that really Pat has done his best to make it very, very hands-on. So he tells you how, for example, you can really train your mind to be fit. And he goes into different stories, which I love as well, that idea of choosing the different stories that we tell ourselves. So there's the happiness story, the success story, the confidence story, the emotion story, the communication story, the conflict story, the fear story, which really goes into a lot of anxiety, and also the purpose story. So within each of those, we are telling ourselves stories that can either limit us or benefit us. And Pat really breaks it down in a way, as I say, that helps you to actually practice and learn how to tell yourself more, let's say, helpful stories. Pat's vulnerability, and that's the second thing that I love about this book, is how he really is not trying to preach in a sense or pretend that he knows it all, because let's face it, none of us do. And that beginner's mind that we talk about in Buddhist philosophy, and the idea that really, so many of us are coming from a place of not knowing, and that's where we learn. In fact, all of us truly are, if we're open and honest. And Pat really kind of sums this up in his afterword, where he says that if he's giving a talk or doing a workshop, etc., and people want to know his title, he says that he finds it hard to actually put a title on his work, because he was, you may know, more known, or he was a fitness coach really, and he's moved much more into the area of being an emotional coach really. But what he says himself is that he finds it much easier to, or the most sort of close he could get to labeling himself is to be a wounded healer. Okay, so that really captures again the essence of someone who is not pretending to know it all and is bringing their own vulnerabilities and sufferings to their work, and how that is something that actually really helps and elevates other people. So if you haven't already, I really recommend it for those two reasons. So moving on to my fiction book, no surprises here. It's actually set in Greece. My goodness, imagine that. If you don't know, I love Greece, and I'm running the retreat there, Light Up, next month. So this book actually is written by Victoria Hislop, who was given Greek citizenship. She's an English woman who was given Greek citizenship for the work that she's done for writing about Greece, and she lives on Crete, I think, half of the year. So basically this book, Those Who Are Loved, is one, she's written quite a few novels, The Island, Cartes Postales, and I've read quite a few of them, and they are, I find them quite holiday reading material in the sense that it's written in a way that's incredibly light. However, right, within that, it's not chick lit, because what's going on is that you're actually learning so much, and I learned a lot from this book that I didn't really know. It really sort of brought a lot of these sort of just ideas that I had, or a little sort of bits of information, let's say, about Greek history in particular, and the Nazi occupation during the war, and then the civil war that followed in Greece. So I learned a lot about just how horrific, obviously, it was, both of those things, and how one of them opened the door to the other, so that the German occupation really divided the country in terms of those who collaborated with the Nazis and those who fought against them. So we got the left and the right wing. And my mum actually told me that even today there are they're called a cafe neon, that there will be cafe neons that only people who supported the right, for example, will go, or people who supported the communists will go to that cafe. So it's still prevalent. And this story of one starts off with a young girl of 15 who lives in Athens, and it goes through her whole experience where she actually goes and fights. She becomes a soldier